Tonight you can expect an episode on strictly men's and women's basketball. Matt Balanc is now part of Quinnipiac's 1,000-point club. Is Balanc the team's #1 scoring option? And the women's team defeated Marist by 28 points, allowing 4 players to reach double digits. All this and more on Bobcat Breakdown starting now. Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. I'm your host, Ryan Raggio. Alongside me are 2 basketball enthusiasts, Dylan Summer and Joey O'Donohue. How are you guys doing tonight?
I'm feeling fantastic. You said it. I'm a basketball enthusiast, so this is the show for me.
Yeah, I'm hyped. It's all basketball tonight, nothing else, so I'm ready to get into it.
All right, well, I'm glad you guys survived the cold this weekend. This past week, M&T Bank Arena hosted 2 sellout crowds for the first time since 2020. The stands were full and roaring with pride. With all that in mind, how does Quinnipiac Athletics continue to maintain sellout crowds? Joey, you're a senior who saw crowds before COVID. Let's start with you on this one.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the main thing they should do is have more incentives and then promotion of those incentives. You know, giveaways, Bobcat Rewards. They have that app, and I think they should do a little bit more promoting of that app, right? And showing fans that, hey, you can win prizes by coming to these games. Giveaways are a great idea. You know, I like the Avelo Airlines giveaway they tried, and a TV giveaway they did at one game as well. You know, keeping those giveaways up, but then advertising those to Quinnipiac students is what's going to make people want to show up to the games. I mean, who doesn't love free stuff, you know? If I have a chance to win free stuff, I'll go to the game, and I think a lot of students will resonate with that as well.
I'm going to have to agree with you, Joey. I mean, just with the Fairfield game the other day, it was nationally televised. It gave incentives for the students to go to the game. And they had rally towels. They had all these promotions set up for the students to come to this one game. And with that, they also promoted it through Instagram, through Twitter, through all their athletics accounts. They wanted everyone to go to that game. It did help that there was no hockey that night, so students didn't have a choice to make there. But the fact that they went ahead and put so much promotional efforts towards that one Fairfield game, I think it really made the difference in the turnout.
Yeah, the promotion definitely helps. Another idea I thought of, too, was to incorporate social media to incentivize fans. Like, if athletics could implement social media challenges, saying like, post a TikTok or a Be Real of you at the game and automatically be entered in a chance as a giveaway. I think not only would that spread even more promotion, because students would be posting selfies at the game and various different content, so it'd spread awareness for going to the game. And again, it's free stuff. That's what's going to make people show up.
Who doesn't love free stuff, am I right? Quinnipiac's 1,000-point club has a new member. After a 19-point performance in Sunday's loss to Mount St. Mary's, Matt Balanc has made the history books. Let's pass it back to Dylan. Is he him? Should he be the guy that the Bobcats go to if they need a bucket?
I'm going to say no with this, and my guy is Ike Nweke. Now, Balanc is one of those players where his scoring is going to fluctuate a little. As we saw with a couple of games, he's gotten 20, but he also has games where he gets less than 10. So he's a very streaky player in how he plays. Scoring-wise, and even though that he's getting these double digits, I think Nweke is the key to getting this offense going. He's the playmaker inside, provides mismatches, and on top of that, he's had some really high-scoring games, 24 points against Canisius, and then 21 points against Siena, just to name a few. He's also a really good shooter, 49.8 field goal percentage.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree with you on that one, Dylan. I don't think it's Balanc either. I mean, maybe Balanc is the best pure scoring build on the team, but for me, when I need a bucket, I want Desi Jones. I mean, Desi Jones is the person leading the team in points per game right now, and he's leading the team in total points. He's also their best 3-point per shooter by a large margin, and he has a better field goal percentage than any other guard on the team. Of course, Nweke is going to be a bit better because he's a big, but how can you pick Nweke when he's not even top 2 on the team in scoring right now? Desi Jones is leading the team in points per game. It's been Desi who's been their #1 scoring option, and it's going to continue to be Desi down the stretch because he's averaging about 12 points per game right now.
Well, the thing with Baker Dunleavy and his teams, he's always about 3-and-D. And this year he has Ike Nweke, who can get the ball inside, pound it, and really get into defenses' heads, and just like pounding it inside, being a menace in the paint, and really just getting those points. And we've seen that multiple times, both offensively and defensively this year, where that's come to play.
Yeah, but he's not going to drain a 3 on you, and I'm looking for scoring option. I want someone that could do a little bit of everything. Desi can shoot the 3 ball way better than Ike. He can drive in. He's got so much talent to his game, and his percentages are better. His points per game averages are better. That's why I'm going to go with Jones on this one, and especially the big stat he's better in is the free throw percentage. Desi's 83.8% from the free throw line. That's the best on the team, and Ike is not even close to that.
The only thing I have to say to you is the point guard should be passing the ball and not scoring the ball.
All right. Well, it's time for a new segment on Breakdown. Our analysts were asked to choose 2 Quinnipiac men's basketball players and compare them, their playing styles, to someone in the NBA. Now, Dylan, let's go. Let's start with you.
All right, Joey, this one's going to hit home for you a little bit because it's the guy you just mentioned, Desi Jones, and I'm comparing him to Trae Young. You just mentioned about how he could hit those deep threes, and I think Trae Young falls exactly into that boat. They're both smaller guards, and they're great distributors of the ball. Their field goal percentage is actually pretty similar as well, 42.6 for Jones compared to 43% for Trae Young. They also can steal the ball, averaging a steal per game. But the one thing I think they have the most in common is the size disadvantage. If you look at the defensive side of the ball, both these guys get bullied around because these guys are bigger than them, and their offense just has to be better in order to counter that defense.
Yeah, he does look like him as well. But for my first pro Bobcat comparison, I'm going to compare Matt Balanc, a name we mentioned as well, to Zach LaVine. I think both of them are crazy athletic and can throw it down at any point. We saw Matt Balanc throw an alley-oop down on Friday night. He's also a great three-point shooter, and so is Zach LaVine. I think they're both athletic guys that can dunk, that can throw down a jam at any point. And they have very similar size. They're only an inch apart in height. So they have a very similar game, very similar build, and I think that's what I would compare Matt Balanc to, is Zach LaVine.
I could definitely see that. Just looking at what Balanc's done, the last couple of games with his dunks, every single game I think that I've done a highlight for, the ending play is just a finishing dunk down the line of LaVine right there. But now for my other guy, I'm going to have to go with Paul Otieno compared to, this is a little bit of a homer pick, but I'm going Mitchell Robinson in that Knicks fandom in me. And I think it's because they both do the dirty work inside. They fight for rebounds. They create space. And I think the biggest thing, not as of late, but they both average a double-double like every other game, which I think these are role players that can step inside, just go ahead, do their work, and then they could call it a day. Now, they're not going to shoot threes, but they still have good shooting percentage. Otieno with 59 compared to Robinson with 67.4, but I think they both go down the line of that big inside that just does it all.
Yeah, Otieno is one of those guys that does all the little things, all the dirty work underneath, so that's a pretty good one. For my second comparison, I'm going to do a bit of an interesting one. Savion Lewis reminds me a lot of Chris Paul. Both of them excellent passing point guards. They have a little floater/layup package to their game as well. And again, only an inch apart in height, which I think is interesting. And this one's a bit bizarre. They weigh the exact same amount. I looked it up. Both players listed at 175 pounds. So to me, Lewis does play like Paul. And the main thing was just the incredible passing ability that both these guards possess. So they're also veterans. We know how long Chris Paul has been around. And Savion Lewis is a redshirt senior. So for me, I'm going with those passing guards and comparing the two.
Well, it seems like you guys are getting along pretty well on this show tonight. I don't know if I like that or if I don't like that, but, well, it's time to take our first. The men's basketball team has played 4 games in the last week. Has that been too much?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to say that's the reason that they lost against Mount St. Mary's, because it was the defense. Like, to me, they lost that game because of the defense. I mean, Mount St. Mary's came into the game averaging the least amount of points per game in all of the MAC. And Quinnipiac lets up 79 to that team. I mean, come on. We know they've had trouble defending guards all season long. And Jalen Benjamin, who's crazy athletic, just capitalized on that. He cooked Quinnipiac's defense, going for more than 20 points. In fact, they let 2 players go for more than 20 points, and 4 players on the Mountaineers got in double figures that game. I mean, again, this is a team that came in scoring less than any other team in the MAC, and Quinnipiac gave up 79. I mean, that's insane. You know, their offense wasn't even that bad, right? The Bobcats put up 75, which is more than their season average, and Quinnipiac is second in points per game in all of the MAC. So they let Cordelia get easy buckets off the pick and roll inside. Benjamin was cooking them and eventually fouled out after getting over 20 points. So it was a defensive collapse is what I saw, and that's really the reason they lost, not necessarily fatigue.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you again. They started out on the right foot, but as the game kept going along, they fell apart in that second half. They tried implementing that zone defense, and they just went right away from it. And because of that, Mount St. Mary's just went ahead and just kept going to that pick and roll with Jalen Benjamin. And it's been like that all season long, really, for the Bobcats with star guards. If you look at how Noah Tomlinson played him with 24 points and how Javian McCollum played against him with 25 points. So these star guards for these other teams are just having mismatches with the Quinnipiac guards defensively, and it's really hurting them. And they need to figure out a solution to this quick, because now you got a 3-game away sway upcoming, and that's not going to be easy for them.
Yeah, they're playing some talented guards coming up, especially in Siena, so we'll see what happens.
Agreeing again. All right, well, it's time to take our first break of the night, but don't go anywhere as we talk all things women's basketball. We'll be right back.
Honey, what I think you need is a socket wrench.
I played JV basketball.
I'm sorry. I don't think it looks right.
This is good, and it's all good, baby.
Is it really all good?
If you love me enough to routinely test your handyman skills, not to mention the strength of your marriage, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/therightseat to make sure I'm in the right car seat.
I'm gonna call my dad.
Meet the scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you.
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
I think it's just vapor with flavor.
It won't hurt my kid like cigarettes, right?
Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
There's really not even that much nicotine in them, right?
My kid?
My kid knows it's dangerous.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping, maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
I don't think that many kids in my son's school even do it.
He makes fun of his friend who vapes.
He would never try it.
She's into soccer.
She's on the honor roll.
She's just not the type.
No way.
No way.
No way.
No way, my kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping, maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
Welcome back. Sticking on the court with the women's basketball team. Before the new year, the Bobcats held an 8-5 record. After the holidays and a happy new year, they are 7-2. Dylan, who or what has been the driving force for the women's team?
I think the biggest thing is that they're getting healthy and they're getting hot right now. If you look at who just came back, it's no other than star point guard Mackenzie DeWeese. And on top of that, I don't know if many people knew this, but Mary Baskerville just came back from COVID as well. So getting these key players to return to their lineup adds more depth. And in that sense, they've come in to play right away. Baskerville, 3 double-doubles. And then against Siena, I was at that game, 20 rebounds. Then you got DeWeese, 7 points against Siena, 7 rebounds against Marist. So they're making impacts on the court right away. They won their last 6 games, and they're really blowing these teams out of the water now. So everything's coming together for this team, and right now they're rolling.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with one part of that. I agree with the depth, right? Like Mackenzie DeWeese back in the lineup, Baskerville coming off the bench and making a huge impact. Ella O'Donnell's very talented and versatile. Jackie Grisdale can score it well. Yes, they have a very deep team this year, but one thing you've got to highlight is the defense. Fortunately for me, I'd literally asked Mackenzie DeWeese this question, and her answer was depth and defense. So I got the inside scoop, Dylan. And the defense, in their last 2 wins, they only allowed 45 points and 42 points in each of those. They only gave up 38 in their win against Manhattan. They've truly locked in as of lately defensively. And then Quinnipiac as a team, they're second in the MAC in total blocks with 94. They're third in defensive rebounds. They're doing all the little things. They're getting things done. And you know Mackenzie DeWeese and a lot of those guards very hungry to get steals all season long. So defensively, they've really keyed in, and I think those have been the main reasons that they're on a hot streak right now.
I think that also goes back to the fact that they're getting those players back, though. Like, Baskerville, in terms of defense, if you look at the amount of rebounds that she's gotten over 10 in the last couple of games. So having those players come back now and having them healthy. Beforehand, you saw how the defense was, and it was without those players. So that's where I have you there.
But Baskerville coming back brings defense to the lineup. She's one of their best big defenders. So
I'm saying how these players that got healthy, and you're saying how the defense is what's the difference.
Yeah,
now.
but they missed her defense.
Yeah,
that's what was missing.
But now I'm sort of saying the same thing as you in that sense. They're healthy on the court now, so their defense improved because now they're healthy.
Yeah, so their defense has been what's carried them in this hot streak.
I mean, it's hard to compete with the inside scoop, as he's mentioned. Hate to say it, but
let's go, Ryan.
Hey, I'm seeing how it is. But sticking with women's basketball, they made an absolute statement after their 28-point win over Marist, and 6th win in a row. 4 players had double-digit points. So, Joey, tell me offensively, who impressed you the most?
Are you ready for this, Ryan?
Wait.
Rose Caverly. She impressed me the most in that 28-point win. Before this game, Rose had scored double digits just one time since December 7th. That's a 3-month stretch of basketball where she only had 10-plus points one time. So I didn't know what I was going to get from Rose. I know what Baskerville can do. I know what Michaela Morris can do. She's averaging 11 points per game. But Rose, the game before this, 4 points. Game before that, 8. Game before that, 4 points. Like I said, she hadn't cracked double digits in so long. Therefore, her getting 12 was most impressive to me. This was tied for the team lead in points. She also had 5 assists, which was more than anyone else on the team. So offensively, which is the question we're answering, she was the most impressive player on the court that day.
I'm going to have to disagree with you here. I got Michaela Morris, who shot perfectly from the field, 6 for 6 at that. She also got 12 points, but I think the biggest thing that you're missing is the assists and how she came to play right away. Morris was a lot more involved moving the ball around than the last 2 games as well. She's finding her rhythm as of late. 3 straight games with double-digit points, only 21 minutes of playing time compared to Rose's 28. And really, that's what I think was the difference in this game, the fact that they got Morris being more of a ball handler in the sense of getting that ball to her and also her finding her teammates.
Well, like I said, Rose Caverly had more assists than Morris, but here's the thing about Michaela Morris. She had 16 points the game before this. So Morris actually scored less points against Marist than she did in the game before. And as I mentioned, Rose had 4 points in the last game against Ryder. So I was much more impressed by Rose because I know Michaela Morris can go off, but Caverly's been a bit inconsistent. You look at her 3-point percentage as well. On the season, it's about 30%. In that Marist game, 40% from 3-point range. That's an incredible improvement, and that's why she is most impressive to me because I didn't know what I was going to get, and then she went off, right? Like, if a star player in the NBA gets 12 points and Ish Smith gets 12 points, I'm more impressed with what I saw from Ish Smith because I didn't know he could do that, right? But, that would be a bad game for Giannis or any really stud player in basketball, and so for me, the question is who impressed you the most? Rose Caverly was the most impressive player by that much because I didn't expect that.
Well, I expected it because if you knew one thing, Rose is the point guard, and she's played way more minutes than Morris. So she's supposed to be scoring points. So I don't know where you fall with that, but I think Morris and having that split time with Baskerville, and she's still proving that she is a menace on the floor, making sure that she's getting her points out there. And really those two, I think, now that they have a 1-2 combo, that's the most impressive thing that they have right now.
You told me you liked your point guard's passing earlier in the segment.
Yeah.
Now you're saying she should be scoring more?
Well, if she's playing 28 minutes, and you're saying how she's the biggest offensive presence,
well, that's
like shooting 3-pointers.
She had more assists and the team lead in points. She was the biggest offensive person.
Along with Morris.
Super impressive. And Morris missed a free throw, so her 100% field goal percentage, but 0% from the free throw line.
Free throws are important, I must say. But over her last 3 games, graduate forward Mary Bakersville has been averaging a double-double in points and rebounds. Does she deserve a starting role, or is she better suited coming off the bench? Dylan, let's go back to you.
I'm going to sort of go back to what I just said. I think she should be coming off the bench still. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if you look at all these games so far that she started on the bench, Sienna, 16 points, 20 rebounds. Ryder, 10 points, 10 rebounds. Maris, 12 points, 12 rebounds. All this coming off the bench. So if you're going to go ahead and put her in the starting role now, you're not going to go ahead and get that same type of numbers, I don't think, because it's just going to be the same thing. There's not really going to be a change because Morris is going to come in and play her time, and Baskerville is going to come in and play her time. Having the two switch off like that, it keeps the opposing defenses on their feet. And the one game that she actually started was against Yale. Yes, she had a good game, but I still think if you just had something working, why do you need to fix it?
Yeah, you know what upsets me about this question, Dylan, is that I completely agree with you. I think Baskerville should be coming off the bench as well. I literally wrote down, if it ain't broke, don't fix it as well. I was ready to hit you with that, but then great minds think alike, and we both think that she should stay there because the real difference in the last 3 games is that she's gotten more minutes than her season average. You know, she got 24 minutes against Ryder, 26 minutes against Sienna. That's been the big difference, not the notion of starting versus coming off the bench. You know, that Sienna game that I mentioned, she dropped 16 points and 20 rebounds. Like, that's incredible. And I don't want to touch what's going on right now because the women's basketball team is on a 6-game win streak, and Baskerville's been coming off the bench. So it's clearly been working. You know, she can dominate with the second unit or playing against second units. Like, it's such a luxury that the Bobcats have to go back and forth between Michaela Morris and Mary Baskerville. Like, those are 2 of the best bigs, and not many other teams in the MAC have 2 star bigs that are going to be able to compete with that. So having Baskerville come in and provide a spark off the bench has been working. You know, I'm not going to go ahead and tell Trisha Fabry, change up your strategy because it's working right now.
Well, you guys have definitely convinced me you both are basketball enthusiasts, I must say. I mean, I would also agree. To bring up the line, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, that's great.
Oh, yeah.
So, how about telling us about the upcoming game?
Yeah, take it away.
Canisius, they're at the bottom of the MAC right now, so I think this should be another pretty easy win for them. I mean, they've been dominating teams, as we just said, 6-game winning streak, and they're just getting closer. I'm going to mention in my roar later to Fabry's 500th, but I think that should be a pretty easy win for them.
Yeah, I definitely think they're going to win this. We've talked about how they've been clicking so well. They're so deep. They're playing good defense, which you didn't really agree with me that was the catalyst, but that is the catalyst for why they're 7-2 in the new year. And so I don't think they'll have trouble against Canisius. And once DeWeese starts to pick it back up too, like now she's back in the lineup, her leadership is clearly on display. Once she starts getting back in the scoring column a little bit more, I mean, this team is dangerous as we head towards Atlantic City and tournament time.
Oh yeah. As you said, 7-2 in the new year. What was in that eggnog? Who knows? It's time to head for our final break of the night. Don't go anywhere as we still have the QBSN question of the week, of course, and our final roars.
Type 2 diabetes can have a big impact on your life, but how can it be prevented? Well, the first step is knowing if you have prediabetes, a serious medical condition that puts you at high risk for type 2 diabetes. 1 in 3 American adults has prediabetes, but more than 80% don't know they have it. The good news is, prediabetes can be reversed, and for many people, healthy changes in their daily routine can make a big difference. Take the 1-minute risk test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's put a ride home.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. It's here. It's here. Wait. What?
I can't drive.
What? My. Oh.
This past Sunday, Mackenzie DeWeese was able to hop onto a men's basketball call alongside Joey, to my left, and Seth Fromowitz. Dylan, who would you like to feature on a QBSN call next?
I'm going to have to go with the Columbia graduate transfer, Ike Nweke. I've spoke to him in press conferences. He's very well spoken. I think he would provide some interesting insight in terms of a color maybe, Joey. I don't know how you feel about that, but I think he would be great to add on to the call.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I went for a little bit of a different one. I mean, we've gotten some basketball and hockey players on, and I love having them on, but I want to see Braga Austin hop on a call. I mean, that would be awesome to get a soccer star in the booth for QBSN, maybe Rebecca Cook as well. I've always been a big soccer guy, and so getting one of those people on would be awesome for QBSN.
The prolific goal scorer of the women's soccer team. That would be pretty fun. All right, you know what time it is?
What time, Ryan?
It's time for everyone's favorite segment of the night, Final Roars. Dylan, you're leading us off.
Head coach Trish Fabry has paved the way for the women's basketball program for 28 years in running, and she is steadily approaching her 500th career win. Going back to 1995, there was a lot of pressure put on her immediately. She had big shoes to fill because she was not only the first full-time coach in Quinnipiac history, but also the first ever female head coach. And as most stories start out, it was a rough start for Fabry in the beginning, only going 2-23 on the year. However, after building a foundation and connecting the pieces to the puzzle, she has grown as one of the most successful Quinnipiac coaches in history. And she has developed a winning culture and philosophy that has become embedded within the program. She has won 5 MAC regular season championships, 4 MAC tournament championships, and in 2017, she made it all the way to the Sweet 16 in the NCAA tournament. Now in 2023, the women's team sits at an overall record of 15-7 and a conference record of 10-3. Plus, they won their last 6 games in a row. The legacy that Coach Fabry has left at Quinnipiac is nothing that should be taken for granted, and we will be closely watching as she comes closer to reaching the milestone and lifetime achievement of 500 wins.
We in student media do so much work, researching athletes, remembering statistics, making content about them, and so much more. On Sunday, I had an amazing opportunity to commentate the men's basketball game with women's basketball star Mackenzie DeWeese alongside me and Seth Fromowitz. The concept of bridging the gap between us and our student athletes makes for truly enhanced content and is great for both parties. DeWeese provided amazing basketball insight to make for a better broadcast. She also commented on how impressed she was with my work and all of the preparation that goes into covering them. I've also had the pleasure of doing a call with Taimu Shenry last year. And last semester, when I was a producer of this very show, we had a live interview with Kyle Robinson, a recorded interview with Jackie Grisdale, and a recorded interview with Lexi Agia. And each time was a blast and made for great content. Plus, the athletes really enjoyed it too. I really encourage the student media members of the future to get athletes involved in our work. We can learn from them and show them what we do. We deserve to show off all the hard work we do covering those athletes rather than always doing that work from afar.
All right, for my final roar, let's head to the baseball field. Following an offseason where the team lost 10 players in total, it has left many, including myself, speculating how the baseball team will fare this season. I want to focus on catcher Danny Melnick, who moved on to Rutgers. Him leaving has left a huge hole to fill offensively and defensively. Now, I love numbers, guys, and I apologize in advance, but guys, I'm going to fangirl a little bit. Melnick turned it up towards the back half of the season. He was slashing above 500 and finished the season with a 344 average and 11 homers. Now, for my stat fans, that's 43 in a 162-game season. Replacing Melnick's bat won't be an easy task. He was also able to play the outfield because of his speed. A catcher with speed in the outfield is like a cheat code. Losing the offensive production from him could prove costly for the team this year. However, the Bobcats have an incoming catcher, Christian Smith. Right now, according to stats, he has an exit velo of 92 miles per hour off the bat and a pop time a shade above 2 seconds. He could be the catcher of the future for Quinnipiac if his development goes according to plan. He'll be able to learn from catcher Keegan O'Connor and even infielder who has also caught before, Kyle Mapes. 2 solid players. I have high hopes for the kid. He will have some big shoes to fill. And with that, this episode of Bobcat Breakdown is in the books. Be sure to check us out at Q30TV.com. Go follow us on social media at Q30 Television and download our app on all app stores. For Dylan Summer and Joey O'Donohue, for all the producers and everyone crushing it behind the scenes, I'm Ryan Raggio. Thank you so much for tuning in this week's episode of Bobcat Breakdown.